Good morning and happy Tuesday. So it is 8:01 and I am so overjoyed and excited to talk with Sunny Goode today. As I mentioned to everyone in the announcement as I scheduled the event, Sunny and her team are doing revolutionary work within the labor and delivery space that I think is absolutely amazing. Sunny, I don't know if you want to do a quick kind of introduction of yourself and tell everyone kind of just about your background real quick.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. Brandy, thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much for our initial conversation when I was zipping through Texas and you replied on LinkedIn, yeah, let's get coffee. I'm so grateful for that day. So my name is Sunny Goode, and I am the founder and creator of LOVEVOLVE. We wrap babies in love at birth, and it's a mission-based business. So our mission is to decrease domestic violence by increasing relationship health awareness when everyone that has a baby come into their lives has just incredible relationship health change and relationship shifts. And that's really the basis of our business, is just planting seeds of awareness and love.
That's awesome. I love it. So when you were in the process of saying, hey, this is the path I'm going to go down, what are some of the things that really kind of played into that?
So our why, I guess, our why during the pandemic. So before the pandemic, I'm an artist. I'm a visual artist. I've been creating for over 30 years, and I had a shift in my artwork and ended up with like the painting that's behind me. So I started painting all these love paintings in 2019. I put them on scarves, on textiles in the fall of 2019, and really was like wrapping people in love. And when I presented the scarves to the public in my little town of Richmond, Virginia, or city of Richmond, Virginia, I sold a ton of scarves at Christmas time, and people kept saying over and over, oh, I need one for so-and-so needs to be wrapped in love, and so-and-so. And I kept hearing people over and over talk about many people who needed to be wrapped in love, and they were buying like 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 scarves at a time to give away for the holidays. And shortly after that, I met with my manufacturer and I talked about wrapping babies in love. I had really wanted my artwork to do a little bit more for the world than just be a pretty picture, which I know sounds kind of silly, but I really wanted a little bit more purpose in my life. And I had been really asking for that just from my inside. And so when the pandemic started, I put the artwork on a baby swaddle, and it looks like this. So this is, I don't know if anyone's seen one of the baby swaddles, but so this happened during the pandemic. And in Richmond, we had a million protests, and everything, just all this information was coming to me at one time. And the underlying, the foundation of it was relationship health in our communities and our society. And so I thought, this is really interesting. The pandemic was interesting for everyone, obviously, being closed in and shut down. And I was on LinkedIn and I saw a World Health Organization little thing pop up that said, we're going to do a seminar on the global pandemic of domestic violence. And I was so fascinated by that. So I popped on. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, but I was just really curious about domestic violence being a global pandemic. I had seen unhealthy relationships throughout my life and had been kind of curious about that. So when I popped on, it was incredibly informative, tons of statistics from all over the place, the top doctors in the world talking about, this global pandemic of domestic violence affecting 1 in 3, and almost being equal, not quite, but almost being equal, women against men as men against women. And I really just, the whole thing just resonated with me. And I was so grateful that they put that out there on LinkedIn. what I did notice after I finished that seminar is that no one was talking about tackling domestic violence at the roots. No one was talking about how does domestic violence start and where does it come from? And it's primarily a learned behavior. So, kids do what you do, right?
Right.
so really, this was just like an aha moment for me. And I thought, wow, domestic violence is in, and interpersonal relationship violence is in every socioeconomic background. So it's not limited to any race or religion or socioeconomic background. And I thought, where does everyone meet? And everyone delivers in a hospital, pretty much. I mean, they have midwives, yes, and there are pockets where you're not in the hospital, but in the United States, for the most part, you go to a hospital to deliver your baby. And I thought, what if we wrap every baby in love and give every family relationship health awareness at birth? What does our society look like in a decade? Just with a one simple act.
Yeah. And so for those, listening in, Sunny and I would talk, gosh, Sunny, probably about 6 months ago. And we went for coffee, what I thought was going to be like a 30, 45-minute conversation. And it ended up being several hours. And again, going back to like what she's talking about, that everybody has this common denominator of you have a baby, you have a baby, you procreate. And, with the 1 in 3 odds that, someone's going to experience some type of domestic abuse, what really hit home with me, I'm one of 6 kids. I've been vocal. I've talked about it before. I grew up in an abusive household, and being one of 6 kids, that was 6 opportunities that if something like this, if Sunny had existed back then, in her product, that's 6 different times my family, whether it be parental units, grandparents that are coming in and out after one of us were born, aunts, uncles, etc. My siblings, we are a 20-year age gap, and so in that volume of people coming in and out of the L&D, we were all born at the same hospital, and how many opportunities that would have been to help potentially kind of shift the overall environment in the childhood home that I grew up in. So it really resonated with me, as she and I, kind of talked to her mission and passion and what she was trying to chase after with that, wrapping every baby in love. I love the concept. I love, the mission. Talk a little bit more, because I want to make sure the viewers and listeners understand the card. I know that's the 10 speaking points, like how you guys go in, you educate the nursing staff. I think it's equally important to talk about what this does for the engagement of your nurses. So I don't know if you want to talk through that a little bit.
Absolutely. So being in Virginia, I very serendipitously, when I came up with this whole mission and how we were going to really do this, I was connected with a foundation called the One Love Foundation. It was created a month. I don't know if any viewers remember, there was a young girl at the University of Virginia 3 weeks before her graduation in 2010. She was killed by a former boyfriend. And throughout her story, there were a lot of people that understood that it was an unhealthy relationship, but no one really knew how to get them out or how to help anybody in that situation. So she was very tragically killed 3 weeks before her graduation, like I said, and her family started the One Love Foundation a month after she died. There's a card. So they focus on like the 10 signs of a healthy relationship. And so this is a little card that we send home with the family with the swaddle. So it comes, with the swaddle. And on the other side, we teach them how to, there's a little swaddle graphic, and then the power of words and how important words are for your brain. And my background is the physiological and psychological effects of color as well. So I've studied all that for interior environments, for healthcare, for schools, for homes. And the pattern on the swaddle affects the brain. It brings joy to the brain. So it's really this daily visual reminder that you got this little card when you were in the hospital. And that card also has a little QR code on the bottom that goes to resources on our website, relationship health resources. There's a whole list of them, and you can, they're very curated. So it's kind of nice. You don't have to just surf the web and look for, what's best for you. And then we also now, as we evolve, we have fourth trimester support resources. So the World Health Organization also in 2021 coined the fourth trimester, which is the first 12 weeks after birth. So it's still part of pregnancy. It's the biggest hormone drop, I think, in any human experiences is post-birth in their brain. So, it's something that we all need to pay attention to and need to support. And that comes into the mother loving herself. So I've realized we've sent this card home wanting the husband and wife or the caregivers, however the family unit is structured, we want relationship health modeled for that baby. But as we've gotten into this, it comes with all of these surprises. And I think this is the most fun about being curious and also being open to the business that you're in, is that, you're not just on a path and have your decisions and ideas. You're letting people drop ideas and decisions in and thoughts and during the process. And that's what I love about being an entrepreneur, actually. So what we've realized is that it's about self-love for the mom. So our postpartum resources really are, how's mom? We're taking care of mom. Mom's going to take care of the baby. And a lot of people are going to help you. People dote on babies. No one really dotes on mom after she's delivered a baby as much as I think there's room for that.
Right.
One of the other wonderful things that's happened with our resources. So if you can go on that resource page, and you can, we promote the healthy relationships in the hospital. We want to kind of guide people to do what we want them to do. If you go online on the One Love website, it has all kinds of information about unhealthy relationships and how to identify those as well. So that's, down the road if you feel like you're in that situation. One thing I'll note that the World Health Organization did mention in that very first seminar that I listened to was that our healthcare workers, 1 in 3 are in that same statistic as the rest of the world. So when you are in an unhealthy relationship, the first person you're probably going to confide in is a doctor or a nurse. Mm-hmm. And if either one of them normalizes what's happening in your life, then you're less likely to ask for help. So it's really important that our healthcare workers understand that when someone comes to them, that is their first try to get help.
And I think, I know you and I have talked about the ripple effect. It's not just mom. You go back to the visual component, the way the brain works and digests the color palettes that you've put together. And it's every single person who's part of that experience, whether it be, reading or understanding the 10 messages, right, on kind of a healthy relationship, or mom and baby go home and, next door neighbor comes over and she sees the swaddle. Oh, that's really cool. And I talk about a lot how, healthcare executives understanding that every patient and every nurse is your walking billboard, every single one. And this adds to that mindset, of the fact that, every person that walks out of your hospital, whether it be your employees or those patients, they're going to tell your story. And what is that story going to be? So going into the staff, one of the things that I think is awesome in the experience of how you're educating nurses too, because to your point, the nurses, there's no boundaries with domestic violence, right? It doesn't matter. You had even said, hey, rich people, poor people, it doesn't matter your race, religion. It doesn't matter if you're the nurse or you're the patient, right? It's the same odds, 1 in 3. And the other thing I always think about too is we have so many new people consistently coming into the workforce. and our baby green nurses, right? Like they're so young when they come out of nursing school at large, that the emotional intelligence to be able to understand how to really deal with some of the complex situations that can come through an L&D. Do you want to speak a little bit more about, whether stillborn babies, miscarriages, some of the things, I mean, heavy topics that a 22-year-old nurse, hasn't experienced themselves likely, right? And, how this helps them.
Well, yeah. And grief, I mean, every culture handles grief differently.
Right.
And, grief is a tough topic for everybody. Some people shy away from it. They're like, I can't deal with that at all. Like they just want to stuff it and hide it. So our very first hospital was actually where I delivered my 3 children, Henrico Doctors Hospital. It's a HCA hospital here in Richmond. And when we got our first meeting with the lead nurse at CNO for the labor and delivery, Lisa Carson, she's an incredible woman. She had been there for 23 years. Mm-hmm. When I presented this to her, it opened my eyes, because she was like, oh my gosh, like we need this. And it was almost just, it was such a quick, like, what's the question? And I thought, oh, wow, like a lot more goes on in labor and delivery than I know, because I'm not a labor and delivery nurse. But in this unit, you're dealing with a lot. You're dealing with teen pregnancies. You're dealing with people who maybe didn't necessarily want to have a baby. I don't know. People that planned or tried for decades. I mean, there's such a big range of emotion here.
Right.
And you're also dealing with fetal demise. So shortly after we did the love blanket, Lisa said, would you mind creating something for fetal demise? And so we created this. It's a different color palette. And this card, we worked with our local grief nonprofit called Full Circle, but then we also guide to the MISS Foundation, which is a national nonprofit for grief. Mm-hmm. The healthy relationships are still on the back. But it was nice. What I think that obviously the hardest part about leaving without a baby is leaving with absolutely nothing. And we still wanted to wrap that family in love. And that was Lisa. Lisa came to me and said, could you do this? And just with my background in color, I was like, it's got to be a different color palette, because if someone experiences fetal demise and then they come back in and have a live birth, we don't want them getting the same blanket. So once again, it's a brain. It's how the brain is processing color and emotion at the same time. It's a visual connected to an emotional experience. So it's that physiological and psychological effect happening at once. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that, and these young nurses, I mean, all of the nurses, just anyone handling grief. I mean, it's complicated, and it's very, very sad.
Yeah. And it is, people don't think of the fact like you're leaving with nothing. Like, and I know it's just a blanket. It's more than that, right? It's the concept behind it. And I want to pause just because I meant to mention this at the beginning, but if anybody has questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. This is like trying to teach an old dog new tricks and having to multitask and, view the stream while responding. So, but you have questions, ask, because this is such an important topic. And, while we're talking about the passion and the mission behind what Sunny's doing, I'm going to put a little plug in there. Always follow your passion, follow your mission. At the core, as far as what you're passionate about and what you can excel at. I've had an executive, tell me before, Brandy, you should put all your passions on hold. And that is the worst advice any leader can ever give you guys. If you have something you're passionate about, pour into that. And because it yields amazing things, fruitful things like what Sunny's doing. Putting the passion piece on pause for a second, going over to the tangible, I'm a CFO, I'm a business development person. I need to look at the P&L, right, at my hospital and what it is that, we're going to really look at here. First thing, and I don't know the exact numbers, she mentioned that in Henrico's hospital, Henrico Hospital with HCA was one of the first hospitals that implemented. The CNO that was there, Ben Warner, he's actually the chief nursing officer at Mercy Hospital. Talk to him. I know he is an open book. He's willing to talk to anybody about like how they went about implementing and what it yielded from like the market share, because they can speak to the fact right there in that market, how many, it was like, again, going back to that walking billboard with your patients and with your nurses, you're saying, hey, this is the place you want to have your baby. But the other thing from an investment perspective to think about, every L&D, every hospital already has a budget for these kind of things. You already have a budget to spend on mom and baby. Sometimes it's the big half-gallon mug, or it's different things that has, hospital logos on it. Sunny, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you, with some hospitals, put the hospital logo on the swaddle? Did I make that up?
Yes. No. So I do have that. Hold on. So our other mission, or part of our mission, is that this blanket is a unifier. So it's 100% organic cotton. It's azo-free dyes. Organic cotton muslin isn't normally saturated with this much color, which is really unusual and what makes this so beautiful. But yeah, so the second hospital to join was St. Mary's Hospital, which is Bon Secours. And I don't know if you can see their little tag.
Okay.
Is that in focus? But so we put their little logo on. They wrap every baby in love at birth. And, after the first bath, they wrap the baby in love. They take the baby in to the family with the card and say, this is a gift from our hospital to you. Every hospital has a different way of gifting the love swaddle. Some wrap it underneath on the little mattress in a little bassinet and say, oh, yes, that is for you. And here's this card with these resources. So, it's up to the nurses and the nursing unit how they want to present and how they want to gift. And I think that's wonderful. I love how they've all chosen to do different ways and different things. Here in Richmond, I absolutely want to give a huge shout out to all of our healthcare leaders, because we have all 3 HCA hospitals, Henrico Doctors, Chippenham, Johnson Willis. We've got 4 Bon Secours hospitals, St. Mary's, St. Francis, Memorial Regional, and Southside Regional, and the Children's Hospital of Richmond, which is an independent state hospital. Every hospital is doing the same thing at birth. And so it's my hope that this whole community, when you see this swaddle out, it's like something really to be proud of. So while there are differentiators, like you can put your logo on the tag, you can put your logo on the card. We have some conversations with some hospitals where we can actually put the logo on the blanket. Like we can get that customized. The actual pattern, the love pattern itself, stays the same. So it's a unifier in the community. I've been really, that I've put my foot in the ground on that. We've had a few hospitals that have said, oh, well, we do them in our colors. And I'm like, no, you know what? This is really something that brings people together in a joyful way and in a healthy way. And I think sometimes we need to promote unification.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think, do you ever take a step back and think about how amazing this is? Because you're in it, right? And you're passionate about it. And I know you're an incredibly selfless person, but like thinking about what does the next 5 years, 10 years, what does Richmond, Virginia look like down the road because of something you pursued? I just think that's amazing. And, want to give you kudos and shout out for that, because it's astounding.
You're so sweet. Actually, I had a life coaching session yesterday with a phenomenal human who helps me. And I don't stop very often and look back, but I do. I'm always thinking about, let's see, I think there are a couple of statistics I'm going to throw out here. And this is what is the fuel in my engine. So one is that 5 children a day die from child abuse, 5. And so I wake up every morning and I think about, okay, so 5 died, but how many came close to near death? Like how, that have to live with that trauma. So So yes, I get, and the other statistic that I'm always playing in my head is that our country spends $428 billion annually on the ripple effects of child abuse. Child abuse starts with domestic violence. So I just want to repeat that because it's such a large number. $428 billion we spend as a country annually on the ripple effects of child abuse. Child abuse and trauma, childhood trauma affects all of us every day. It's not this is someone else's problem because it's not my house. And I can get really emotional and passionate about that. And that might be another podcast, another talk. But to date, your question, we've wrapped 35,000 babies in the city of Richmond in the last 3 years. And we're just a city of just over 1 million people. So, yes, it's my hope that it makes tremendous that these healthcare leaders continue to do this and really embrace it to the fullest potential and really make it a part of our community. And it's my hope that it spreads across the country like wildfire. Like this is a wildfire I want to see on national television, of wildfire of love. But you know, I get on that train of just like so focused going forward. I don't stop much to look around, but I do have a few people in my life that say, hold on, look at breath. And I do, I get excited. I just always in my heart, I'm so grateful every time we get a reorder and we redeliver. And that gratitude, I never take that for granted.
And while, yes, everyone listening, this is a business, it's way beyond that. And, I don't know, Sunny does not do pro bono work, but I will tell you, she does some amazing things with, outreaches, third world countries, things where it's just her being selfless and giving her time and her energy and trying to really create this concept of love. And I just feel like, if you replicate what you've done in Richmond, I know you've supported hospitals and systems outside of just the Richmond market, but, it's like, what if LA, what if New York, what if like these major cities adopted this and what that could do? And I just think here in Texas, I think Houston, Dallas, these huge markets that, what that would do for the overall joy in those communities. But go ahead.
Well, no, I was just going to say, like, it's just so simple, but love heals. And when we have a little headquarters / store here, which I call kind of like the magic vault, because the coolest people come in here and they tell us the coolest stories. It's all about love and it's about loss. We have a lot of people that share their stories of loss with us. But in general, it's an uplifting passion and mission, and it is not a nonprofit. I can't afford to be a nonprofit. Sorry. I don't know if I need to apologize for that or not, but
that winning a lottery ticket one day.
But it touches everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I would say that the mission, everyone pauses when they hear about it. I haven't had one person go, oh, and like I said, this ripple effect, our communities are in desperate need of relationship health for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone wants to do the best when they have a baby. Everyone. There's not one person that has a baby that says, I'm going to intentionally traumatize this baby. It's just that life happens and life gets stressful, and we need those tools and we need that support and we need that love in the beginning of life. And if you really want to like take the big macro view, like we look at our prison systems. I would say that 90% of the people in prison were victims of some sort of childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm. And I know, like, one of the things that you and I were talking about, and some of the viewers may have seen the post I made of my sister and I talking through our childhood and what that did for her life, like long-term. We, you talk about the ripple effect. It goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
And with her and how kind of it played out, it went from this abusive childhood to anxiety to, lack of trust in any human. And then it manifested itself in postpartum depression after she had my nephews. And it's that whole circle that you could have stopped, nip it in the bud at the beginning with these type of messages and support systems. And I just think it's so imperative a lot of hospitals are focusing on the fourth trimester postpartum units. How do we really be there for mom and baby post delivery? And as you think about all of the behavioral health crisis and emergencies that we have right now in our communities, how many of those would go away if we started more proactively in the process, from preventing childhood trauma?
100%. I think that was such that conversation with you was so fascinating to me because it makes so much sense. And I think I told you this when we were having coffee, like my favorite game when I was little was like the connect the dots, and it made a picture. I just loved the connect the dots. And I think all of these dots connecting are meant to be. And it's so fascinating connecting these dots from childhood trauma. And you think something that happened so far away, like how in the world could how could that affect this space? But once again, it's all triggers. And, from my personal experience, my parents got divorced when I was very young. I was, between 5 and 6 years old. And I remember when my daughter turned 5 and I was like, had this really like sad wave come over me. Yeah. And that sad wave really was bringing back those memories and thinking, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine this cute little girl right now if my husband and I split at this very moment. Like it was interesting how that makes sense to me. How if you have childhood trauma and then postpartum depression really are connected. And it's worth studying a lot, right? I'm so about that now. I want to make the connections.
It is cool when the whole picture starts coming together.
We also do so just back to Lisa Carson and how incredibly helpful she was and how we love to listen to nurses. So if any nurses have any ideas, but we made an incubator cover shortly after we did, because she was like, oh, the babies in the NICU really need, and they have all the flaps and everything. And, think about how hard it is if you have a NICU baby and you've got to go back to work, or you live, we're now experiencing these maternity deserts. If you live 2 hours away and you have to leave your baby in the NICU. And so we do have several NICU units that have implemented the mission on the isolates as well. And that's really helpful for the nurses who are taking care of the babies too, just to see that love every day.
So awesome. So to kind of wrap us up, the future, I know I'm going to do a little teaser of I know there's a lot of things that they're working on and Sunny and her team that will be coming. So little shameless plug, stay tuned. But if you want to just kind of a general overarching, I guess putting out there, these are the things that we're hoping to accomplish or working towards in the future. Yeah.
So we have a great partnership with our nonprofit One Love. So we're working on, offering like larger corporations, any kind of, sponsorship of the blankets, maybe possibly through One Love. So that's one thing that's down the road, possibly, obviously wrapping every baby in the whole country is our goal.
Yeah.
We want this to be a unifier for the entire United States. We have lofty goals, but we know we can do it. And actually the way my brain works, like I know how many swaddles that is per state a month. And I can tell you it's very doable. So when people, look and go, oh, how in the world are you going to do that? We can do it. We have a lot of fourth trimester support on the way, and it's very simple, but it's very uplifting. And we have it on our website now, and we are always expanding that, and we're always doing the research on it. And we want that to be a place where anyone that's in the fourth trimester, caregiver, spouse, companion, mother, sister, friend, anyone that's in that group supporting those first 12 weeks at home, that change, noticing the depression, symptoms, being able to be there so that we really uplift our moms, and we really uplift this whole new generation with love. That's our goal.
So beautiful. I love it. It's awesome. You're awesome. To anybody who watches this, is watching now or later, comes back and watches this, I genuinely mean it. I know Sunny does as well. Like, if there's anything I can do with connections, like I mentioned, getting you connected with one of the CNOs I'm very close with that has implemented this, connection with Sunny and getting more information, by all means, reach out. This is such a cool, amazing, meaningful mission. Whatever, Sunny or I can do to help any of you that might want to explore this concept further, reach out and let us know. So
yeah, I've got several contacts. Blair Bell at Bon Secours, who's the women's service line. She's, they've been implementing it now for 3 years as well. Henrico Doctors, Kate Wall, Stacy Bertrand are just incredible humans. So if we've got contacts in the systems actually implementing, if you all would like to connect.
It's awesome. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, as always, Sunny, it's amazing to have the opportunity to talk to you again.
You're the best.
Well, again, everyone, reach out if you have questions, and everybody have a wonderful Tuesday. And thank you so much for joining our Better Than Coffee. Bye.